Hi, and welcome to 2022 and our very first podcast for the year. Hi there, Fee. Welcome back.
Hi, Deni. Welcome back to you too. We're stepping into the new year in February, which feels really right. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like the year doesn't really start till February anyway. So this does actually feel like the beginning of the year for me. I always think of January as a kind of transition as we leave one year and go into a new year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of beginnings to the new year for me because these last few years it's kind of felt like there's been false starts, and really it almost doesn't start until the Aries season in March. But we have a new moon at the beginning of Feb, so yeah, it definitely feels like we're stepping into some new energy at the moment with all the planets direct, which feels like a perfect beginning and a perfect place for us to begin the year as well.
Yeah, and we've been feeling into the energy, you and I know we've had a couple of conversations in the last week about it, and feeling so much shifting and to the point of what we want to do and how we want to bring things into the world at the moment is different as well. This podcast is one of those. We're kind of changing it a little bit, changing it up, aligning it, I think, to this new energy that we're sitting in at the moment.
Well, before we begin with the new year, everyone's kind of missed us for the last month. How about what's been going on for you in January?
Yeah, sure. Well, I took January off. So I made the decision at the end of last year to take some time out because it had been a really busy year and I was feeling a little bit burnt out, a little bit tired. And I don't normally get like that, but I intended to take a couple of weeks off, and then it was just like, no, I think I need to take the whole month off. So I did, and that was great. And we went away, we relaxed, I reassessed, I rested, I nurtured myself. I did all of those beautiful things, went to my favorite places in Australia and just
Where did you go?
so we went up the coast and we went to South Golden Beach, which I love. We went
South
up
Golden
to,
Beach.
yeah, that's just north of Byron Bay.
Oh, lovely.
And we have friends that live up there, and it's just the energy there is just beautiful. And then we went up to Queensland for a few days, and then we came back down to Kingscliff and then back to South Golden Beach. So we did a little bit of a road trip, but it was really nice, and just spent time doing nothing and reading and relaxing, and it was just heaven. How about you? I know you had a slightly different experience to me in January.
Oh yeah, I had lots planned, with the kids and camping and holidays and then the first couple of weeks was spent with COVID, unfortunately. So that was I felt like it was just the universe making me stop and making me really be a bit of a hermit during that time, whereas I'd probably have just kind of been out and about and a bit more social. So yeah, it was just like 2-3 weeks of cocooning at the beginning of the year, and there was a lot actually during that time, and I guess it went concurrently with Venus being retrograde, and it felt like I was doing a lot of deep diving and just habits and patterns and values, and it really did seem aligned with what was going on above what I was going through. So it was kind of a heavy January. It really was a look back and an integration. It felt like a really deep time for me, where sometimes when you head into that summer month and that holiday month, it is kind of light and a bit of a break. Not this year, not for me, it wasn't.
Well, I think that kind of also sums up that shift between the year and the energy we were sitting in last year and the what we're moving into this year. And last year, and in fact the year before, was very definitely us being guided to work at the I am level. And so a lot of our work was the inner work we were doing over those last couple of years. And January felt very much to me like almost like a, I keep getting the word settling of that, like an integration of that energy. And we needed that space in January to do that so that we prepare ourselves for what's coming this year, which is much more a stepping into the we are, into that reconnection. So I feel that a lot of people had quite difficult Januaries, actually. And I know a lot of my friends, family, and even, clients have been having a very, no, I wouldn't say difficult, but sort of uncomfortable time in January as that all of that has been settling and integrating. And what we are coming to realize, I think, is those 2 years have really been preparing us for where we are now and where we're going moving forwards.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think we were all kind of in a pattern of what we expected at the beginning of the new year, and that's really shifted on its head, where the New Year's have been starting in a really challenging way for a few years now. I mean, 3 years ago it was the bushfires here in Sydney, and that really kept a lot of us inside. And then, this is the third. Is this the third year of COVID?
I don't know. It feels like 10 years and, 1 year all at once, doesn't it?
But yeah, it's also, with I'm feeling like we're all like the purpose this year. The nodes have shifted, and there's so much emphasis on those nodes, which are our nodes of purpose. It's like the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, and getting those in alignment, and that they're moving and shifting to Taurus, or the North Node in Taurus. It's so much about what are we creating, and that's in alignment with our purpose and in alignment with our values. It's just that it feels like everything is focusing towards that at the moment. And as we head into this year, it's just and being in Taurus, it's very much this isn't just, don't think about this anymore, or don't do a million different courses and practices. It's about staking your claim on what you are going to do in the earth in a physical way. It's very much do it. This is the time, it's got to be physical. It's got to be of this earth. No more airy fairiness in this. It's the bricks and mortar, really.
Oh, I so understand where you're coming from with that. And the message that I was getting when I was away, and also interestingly enough has been coming through for clients I've been working with since I started back to work, is that the time is now. This is the time that you are really needing to focus on what you want your life to look like. And it's been very specific, which has surprised me, for the next 20 years. And, look at what you're creating now, because that's your foundation. You're weaving your foundation now for what your life is going to look like for the next 20 years. So make sure that you are aligned to what you want to create, not what you don't want to create. It's really important. And it feels like this year, throughout this year, it's all about building that foundation for what's coming for this next part of your life. I mean, for me personally, that takes me into my 80s. So that's kind of interesting. And, and I must admit that that's where my focus has been, what is it that I really want to be doing for the next 20 years of my life? So I totally hear you on that one.
And that has felt like what this pause has been. And if I look back at December and January and what was going on astrologically, there's been this Mars and Venus crossing over this. In retrograde, they both crossed over Pluto, 3 times, and that's like the depths. So you've got Mars and Venus, the two poles, the two love and I don't like to say love and war, but the two masculine and feminine energies crossing over, that deep dive, the absolute fleshing out transformational point. It's rare. It's not something that happens every year. So the fact that they do go into retrograde, but they don't go into retrograde and hit Pluto 3 times. It's usually just one pass. So, and at the same time, and this week coming up, Mars and Venus conjunct, and it's conjunct on the on the full moon in Leo on Monday, Tuesday, Valentine's Day also. I think it all kind of comes into one, which is just beautiful, and it feels like a real beginning. If you have been going through some challenging times in your relationships and the way you communicate and in what you value, and diving back through, maybe there've been a lot of old patterns and old ways that have been coming through with the retrogrades that have been uncomfortable. There could have been places of oh my God, I thought I had already done this, and it just was just this repeating patterns, maybe old relationships coming up, people from your past coming up, dreaming about past relationships. Well, that's all coming to a culmination because all planets are direct now. It's such a perfect timing for us to be doing this, Fee, and such perfect timing for us to now take all of that and move forward. And while it's like go, it also feels like it's not going to, everything's not going to come all at once. You've probably got hints of where you need to go, and it's the beginning and it's the long haul. It's not, we need to be playing a long game here, kind of like where you were saying that 20-year thing. It's not a, what are my goals for this year and I need to make it all happen. It's more put into place the things that you're going to want to grow long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is all about foundation. It's all about building a strong foundation for what you want. I mean, if you look at your life now and you think, I'm really happy and I want to continue, you're in a great place. Continue with that. But if you look at your life and you think, I want to change something, I want something different, this is the time to look at what it is you do want and then start to create that for yourself, because you can create literally whatever you want. This is such a time of possibility now. And the thing is, the key, I think, is to dream big, dream about what you really want and put that in place, because the clearing work that we've been doing individually and collectively over the last couple of years has been immense, bigger, more intense clearing than we've ever done before over such a short period of time. And the consciousness of the collective has changed so much, and it's continuing to change. I know we're not where we need to go yet. We've still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. And, and all of that helps us at an individual level to feel more confident within ourselves as to what we want to create, and also give ourselves permission to ask for that as well and create that for ourselves. Last year was such I think an intense year for a lot of people. Just if we looked at it through the numbers, I can't say that word today, then it was a year of change, and we were constantly, everything, it was like boom, 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 all through the year, everything was changing constantly. It was just one thing after another. And now we're moving into a sort of universal 6 year, and this is a different energy. It's softer, it's gentler, but it's still as strong and still as powerful as, as that 5 energy. But it's more about reconnection. It's bringing you into reconnection. This energy, when we think of the 6 archetype, it's about the parent. We're being asked to parent ourselves. We're being asked to look after ourselves in the best way possible. I mean, that's what we need to do now. And it's a balance year as well. This energy is all about balance. There's a lot of energy in the 2s because we're in a 2022 year. So a lot of balancing the extremes and parenting ourselves, nurturing ourselves, connecting to the earth. These are all big messages for this year. And it feels as if we can just really bring ourselves into a very powerful place of co-creation with the earth this year and build those strong foundations. As you were saying, Deni, it's got to be physical now. It's at the physical level. So it's kind of exciting. I feel excited about this year. And I love the fact that it is softer and gentler. And what I'm learning myself, I don't know if you've been noticing this too, is that I am stepping more softly and gently in every aspect of what I do. I take my time more about doing everything. It's almost like I've gone into Uluru time. You know, we often joke about how we have to slow down when we go out to Uluru to meet the energy there. And I feel like I'm embodying that a little bit more in my day-to-day life now.
It's kind of interesting. And when you speak to that, I just kind of I kind of take it all back to painting, because as you know, my painting practice has become so big for me. And lately I've been, just in the last couple of weeks, I've been really drawn to softer palettes, and all the pastel-y colors. And they're just lighting me up so much. And as soon as you sort of said with that go softly, I do have that kind of fire. I'm a double fire, so it is kind of that, quite full on energy. So I'm seeing that evolving in the colors and the type of paintings that I'm kind of called to do in the next short while. It could change down the track, but at the moment just a lot softer. So I really see that there, in that kind of work. The other thing that I've felt really, it's really taken up my January, in a lot of what I've been called to read and follow. And that's this place of women really stepping up into this place of knowing that they deserve the life that they want, and opening I think, and this is going to be a generalization, but I think men are much better at kind of expanding what they think that they can bring in. And I think often women can not dream so big. And now's the time to really expand our dreaming and knowing that it can actually manifest for us. And I'm going to bring in money, because I think that money is such a block for women in a lot of ways. If you go into your boss and you're asking for a pay rise, it's almost like an apology. It's like, where I notice it with the men that I know, they're much more proactive about asking for what they want and knowing what they deserve, and it being, I think that's why men have earned a lot more than women in the past, because they ask for it, they feel they deserve it. And this place of the North Node being in Taurus, and Taurus being about value and money, it really feels like it's time for women to step up in what they feel they deserve. It feels important in terms of the earth, because when we're getting what our value, our true value is, I think that lifts the earth as well. It's not just about us individually, it's about the collective feminine and collective women really rising in value.
Oh, I love that perception of it. Well, first of all, I want to go back to the bit you said about your painting, because I love that you're experiencing that through that creative, avenue of the softening. And I know that for those that are watching this on YouTube, they can see a couple of your beautiful paintings behind you. And those that are listening on a podcast won't see that, but they are beautiful. And I know that you've got your website up and running, and maybe you could put some details of that, because I think it would be lovely to draw more people to the art you're producing at the moment, which is beautiful. But yes, that bit you were saying just then around the feminine. Yes, I think as we as the feminine become more self-empowered, and what we put into the collective then in the feminine way, and it's the rebalancing that's happening between the masculine and the feminine within the collective for both women and men. That, I mean, that is immense. I mean, that's been happening now for a few years, but yes, it feels like it's going to bring up all of those places in our lives where we need to level something out for ourselves. It will be that balancing piece again. And it may be for some people this year, the finances. I know I definitely went through that myself a few years ago, where I had to really work on that as a feminine, as a woman working, and my relationship with money that was so bad at that time, that I was living in lack. And now I don't, because I've healed that relationship. And it is a big one, I think, for a lot of women who are stepping more into their power, becoming more self-empowered. That's always something that's going to surface at some level to be worked through.
Absolutely. Yes. I do feel that sense, like you were saying before, that sense of excitement in this year, and the sense of shift in that area, in that area of really making things happen this year. It's a sense of hope that I think has been a little bit clouded in the last couple of years. And that was clouded in January. So we sort of start February in this place of newness, and in this place of, with this full moon in Leo. Leo is creativity. It's this childlike energy that we can bring in, and being at the time that Mars and Venus conjunct, after that deep dive that they've done, it also feels like a time of playfulness in your relationships, and playfulness in what you're creating. That sort of joy. I mean, I think when you said softness before, there's also kind of like a joyfulness and a lightness in the energy that we're kind of stepping into. Do you feel that as well?
Oh, absolutely. And there's definitely a strong sense of following the joy, you know, not following the goals, not following the, you know, the money, not following, you know, anything else. Just follow the joy, because when we bring joy into our life, everything else falls into place anyway, you know, because we're so happy, we're so filled with joy. So yeah, that piece of following the joy is a big one for this year, I think. And it sounds like fun, you know. I mean, if you're just gonna, well, what am I going to do today? I'm just going to follow my joy. I mean, that sounds like a great way to spend your day, rather than, well, I'm going to follow my to-do list.
Well, gosh, Pete, I mean, I sit with a South Node in Scorpio. And the South Node is kind of like indicative of where you feel really comfortable. And Scorpio is kind of the underworld. So I come with that. I come with this real sense of being comfortable in the shadow world. And I think you know that about me. And so the idea of bringing it to the other side, to this joyful side, I'm constantly questioning that. I mean, I with my art, I'm always asking the question, is it deep enough? Is it dark enough? Is there enough grit in it? And having come to this place where I'm just feeling joyful and wanting to create from that place, it does bring up lots of interesting questions around things like that. Can I just create things because they're fun? And this last year has been all about kind of, for me creatively, is been about trying to find that place of when do I feel in the most joy when I'm creating. And God, it's actually not been easy to just kind of, it's like it's almost like finding flow, right? You just kind of go off and then you feel it, and then then the questioning starts happening. Oh, can I just create that? Is that going to be enough? And then you just find yourself back onto the path. And it's been a full year of me really finding that sweet spot for myself, and allowing the joy in it, allowing it to just be joyful, rather than needing to go through hell in order to get to that point. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense. I mean, this is what we as the feminine particularly, but I know it affects the masculine too, so it's not just related to the feminine, but you know, we've had to let go of so much of our joy through, you know, the way that the patriarchy has ruled us over centuries, you know, and we've had to let go of things that so naturally bring us joy, that what we're doing now is finding our way back to it and giving ourselves permission for it to be joyful, and for it to be just about joy if it needs to be, you know. And you know, it can be more than that. It can be deep. I mean, one of the things I love about you is that you find so much joy in the shadow. You know, that's one of your happy places. So for you to be bringing that out in a joyful way, you know, it can sound odd, but it's absolutely bliss for you to be in that place. So you know, that is where part of your joy sits. So yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying there.
Yes, but interesting enough, I really feel the shift. I think the shift from your south node to your north node, certainly for, I know with me, because I've got my sun conjunct my north node, it can take a longer time to step into that north node. And I've really been feeling my north and my Taurus sun strongly of late. And that is coming away from that underworld and just being okay with being in this world and creating in this world, and manifesting in this world. That's always been really uncomfortable for me, but I'm just really feeling it and really feeling like I'm stepping into a new place. And I think with where the nodes are in everybody's chart, that may be coming through. Just this allowing ourselves to step into our lives in a whole different way. I think it's been, you know, maybe probably this decade since 2010, 2012, that a lot of us have had massive changes in our life, and it has been about transformation, and it has been about clearing, and it has been about the underworld. And it really feels like we're stepping into a new decade in terms of really this world and shaping the earth in a different way.
I know for me personally, something that I've felt really consciously around that is that it's okay for me to give myself permission to slow down. It's okay for me to give myself permission to rest and relax and have fun. And I don't have to work as hard as I have been. You know, like I think I've been healing over last year some stories that were running in my mind about, I needed to work really hard, and to earn, to feel worthy of what I have. I need to work hard to show that to myself. I work hard, so I deserve it, instead of just thinking, well, you might deserve it without doing all that hard work as well. And you can take time out, you can slow down. These are all big themes for me this year that I'm definitely wanting to put more into place. And that slowly, softly, gently energy is really supporting me in creating that for myself, which is, for me, is a godsend because I'm in my 60s now, and this is a time of life where I actually want to slow down. Not that I want to give up or stop completely, but I want to change the way I'm working, and I want to rebalance my life a little bit. I know that I've had a story running for a very long time about how busy I am, and I know you've heard that story on many occasions. And even when it comes out of my mouth now, which it very rarely does, oh God, there's that old story again. So let's change that. So that's a big thing for me, I think, moving into this year.
I can witness that in you, because at the beginning of the last couple of years, that's been something that's been there and present, and that we've spoken about, and then the year's taken off, and that's the way it works, right? You see it, and it doesn't always instantly shift. And I feel like you're slowing down and busyness over the last couple of years, and that is a bit like my, finding my joy, and also opening up to actually manifesting the life that I'm that I feel I deserve, and knowing that. So it's kind of like whatever it is for you that has come up over the last couple of years, that story is ready to change.
Yes.
And really looking at the last couple of years and those repeating messages that you've been telling yourself, well, that's the place that you're working with, and that we have the opportunity to kind of step into new territory here. It's a lot of the planets, well, every planet is direct at the moment, but a lot of the big planets are moving into new territory in the skies, and that's exciting because that's like newness for all of us, ways that we've not been before that we can bring in now.
Yeah. Yes, all of that. And it feels like it's the perfect, I mean, this is, I think, where we started today with the time is now. This is the time to kind of create that for yourself. And it just, I mean, there's such a feeling of positivity and hope, you know, that you said earlier on was difficult to find last year. And I know myself, the end of last year, I was beginning to think, oh my goodness, how much longer can we keep going through this? And I think for a lot of people, that's why they struggled in January so much, because it, you know, there's always this kind of human perspective that we hold, that everything on the 1st of January will change, and you know, New Year's Day it's all going to be different, and it never is. And it does take that period of time for it to adjust. And you know, and that's what that integration period, that void space, January is a kind of void space for that to happen. That's what that's for. But this major shift that we're all feeling now and sensing now is bringing back that beautiful feeling of hope again and joy. And so it does feel much lighter and more positive. And, you know, it doesn't mean that the things we need to deal with are not going to come up. They're still going to be there, but the energy supporting it will be very different. And the way we work through it will be very different.
And with that, and we're coming close to an hour, but I just wanted to touch in on, because we have felt a shift with us and the other world and with the podcast. And, you know, I think it's not a bad idea just to kind of like talk to what we see as changes for us. We're still running our retreats, and we've got 2 that are planned for this year out to Uluru that are happening. And there's still space. I think we've got one in May, and there's a couple of spaces there if anyone's called to come with us in May. In terms of this podcast, we're going to just kind of have conversations again, read into the energy, but have it just happen a bit more as a conversation and a bit more intuitively. Feels better. And I'd love for us to bring a little bit more of us and what we do, you know, our everyday lives into the energy, because I think there's nothing that kind of speaks to what's going on more than what's going on for us every day and our weeks.
I love that. Yes. And I think one of the decisions we've made was to make this podcast more conversational again, which is what it started off as originally. But also to bring in the energy in a slightly different way and work with it in the way that you and I both do. And I'm blown away that you said we're nearly at an hour, because these conversations always just go so quickly that it hardly feels like we've been talking for very long at all. So I'm looking forward to exploring that. And I would love to hear from people around their thoughts on that, whether they're enjoying that more conversational way of receiving the information.
Yeah. And as a way of honoring your needing to slow down, and a way of honoring my need to create more art, we're also decided to pull away from the Circle, our online group that we were creating. It just felt that it was just heading us in a direction of busyness and pulling us away from the things that we found that we do value and that we think are really important. So it was a beautiful couple of months and beautiful group, but that won't be continuing. It's the podcast and our trips out to land that we're going to continue with this year.
Yeah, and look forward to sharing those with everyone. I mean, when we go out in May, yes, you're right, there's a couple of places that have become available for that retreat now. So if anybody is interested, let us know, drop us a line and we can send you some details on that. And yes, we look forward to sharing anything else that comes in, because you and I generally flow with the energy. We're always open to going out to land and where we're called. So I'm sure there's going to be more surfacing throughout the year as we work towards the retreats we've already got in place.
Yes, so thank you everyone for listening, and we will be back next Monday and we'll be starting our weekly chats again. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you then.